Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, we're a little bit late getting started. Today's schedule has been a little crazy here in the office, but we are excited to welcome back Morgan Duffy Simpson, our precious Morgan, whom we love and miss. I'm going to get us started real quick, and then we're going to let you take over. So, who is Mission West Virginia? I'm sure many of you have joined us before. And you guys know the spiel, but you're going to hear it one more time just in case you are a first time visitor with us today. Mission West Virginia is leading a statewide effort to promote positive futures for all kids in West Virginia. We work alongside families as they navigate West Virginia's foster care system and provide evidence based life skills education to help teens envision and create positive futures. As a result of our work putting kids first in collaboration with social services, school districts, private foster care agencies, and other nonprofits, the future looks brighter for West Virginia. So we do this through three main programs, really. But I'm going to highlight frameworks, and the bridge is one, but frameworks provides support for those interested in foster care or kinship care to understand the system, find a placement agency, and prepare to make a meaningful difference in the life of a child. If you're interested in learning more about how to become a foster or adoptive parent in West Virginia, you're in the right place. If you'd like to speak with someone on the phone, please call 866 call MWV or 304-512-0555. You can also request an information packet on our website at missionwv.org/request-information. Our second main program is the THINK program, which stands for Teaching Health Instead of Nagging Kids, THINK empowers teens to make positive life choices through education, life skills, and coaching. Our program is evidence-based and helps the students we work with navigate the social emotional pressures all teens face as they develop. This includes building healthy relationships and healthy choices around drugs and alcohol and pregnancy prevention. We deliver our program in partnership with schools in 20 counties. We're vetted by district leaders, teachers, and other school leaders who are trained to work with kids. The program's evidence-based curriculum has been shown to have a positive effect on preventing teen pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, or sexual risk behaviors. Our educators are continually trained on the most up-to-date information on trauma, sexual health, and high-risk behaviors. Our management team does on-site observations of our educators regularly to ensure fidelity is being followed. We also administer pre and post surveys, receive teacher feedback, hold team focus groups, and site satisfaction surveys. In addition to our classroom lessons, we also offer workshops and trainings for both adults, colleagues, and as well as our youth. Some of those topics include talking to youth about sensitive or hard topics hidden in plain sight, trauma, sexual assault prevention and consent, teen dating violence, and so much more. Today's webinar will offer 1.5 social work CEUs. Our provider number is 49999. 1.5 contact hours. Again, if you are registered for this through Zoom, then you will automatically receive an attendance certificate for CEUs for today. If you do not receive that certificate, give it at least a week. Contact us, let us know, and we'll get one out to you. It will come from a site called Simple Cert, not from Mission West Virginia. So please make note of that. All right, let's meet our speaker today. Morgan is a longtime friend and former colleague with us here at Mission, and we love her so much. We keep asking her to come back because we're trying to tempt her back into our office any way that we can. But Morgan is a mental health therapist at Graceway Counseling Center. She has her bachelor's and master's degree in social work from Marshall University and is a licensed graduate social worker in the state of West Virginia. In her position, Morgan is trained in emotionally focused therapy and meets with individuals of all ages who have experienced current or previous trauma, mental health struggles, substance use, relational issues, suicidal ideation, grief, loss, self-worth, and/or any life stressor. Morgan strives for every person to feel safe, heard, seen, and welcomed as they are. Morgan desires to meet clients with gentleness, compassion, and open mind in a non-judgmental space. When not providing therapy, Morgan enjoys going on walks outside, eating any and all gluten-free foods, and spending time with her husband, friends, biological family, and her church family. Thank you so much, Morgan, for hanging out with us again today. We're so happy to see you. And I'm going to stop sharing and hand this over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I say this every time that I'm here at Mission, but I love Mission. I love the vision that they have for West Virginia for teens, but also foster care and helping foster parents and anyone in the helping field. So it is so good to be back. Let me share my screen and then we'll get going. Okay. Okay. And Hillary, if by chance something like my slides aren't showing, please just come yell at me and tell me.
I
Okay,
sure
guys. So,
gotcha.
okay, thank you. So, yeah, my name is Morgan. I am really happy to be here with you all. Um, there are so many things that I'm passionate about, but mental health is definitely a huge one. Big enough to where I made my whole career into surrounding the topic. I work at Graceway Counseling Center. It's in Huntington, West Virginia. We are always open to see more clients. So we have a few mental health therapists there. So if anyone is looking for therapy, or if you have clients that are looking for therapy, send them our way. We love to get to meet new people all the time. Um, it is a honor and a pleasure of mine to get to do therapy with all my clients. I love them, and it's really special to get to enter into those really vulnerable spaces with people. So today we're talking about the 12 days of self-care. This is for anyone and everyone, right? So I know a lot of our webinars or a lot of missions webinars, they are geared towards maybe teachers, parents, youth specifically. Today it's really for anyone and everyone. They can apply it to life and what life looks like for them right now. The holidays are stressful. There is so much going on. I'm sure all of us have already felt that with Thanksgiving being the past, but also specifically Christmas coming up. So, some of the things that we're going to go over are statistics of how holiday stress affects people, common stressors during the holiday season, holiday mental health struggles, and like what that looks like for people. We're looking at different ways of self-care, and we put that into 12 different categories, and then some resources for us at the very end. Okay, so looking at some stats of what mental health and what stress look like um, in the US for us. So about 41% of adults say their stress increases during the holidays. That is so significant. That is close to half of US adults. That is pretty insane. I wouldn't have realized that was a statistic until doing this presentation. 43% of US adults say that the stress of the holidays, it interferes with their ability to enjoy their time, whether that is with friends, family, whoever that might be. 36% of US adults say that the holidays feel like a competition, instead of something that we can enjoy or rest in. It's more of a competitive thing for people. 38% of US adults who experience stress during the holiday season say that they use negative coping skills to feel better. Um, and 38%, that is still a very significant percentage. And ultimately, that is really what we're looking at today is we want to use healthy coping skills, not just during the holiday season, but during every single season of our lives, but what a better way to start practicing them than during the holiday season. So, the first thing I like to do when just talking about any topic, and kind of in general with clients, is to kind of acknowledge where we're at, being mindful of where we're at. So right now that looks like acknowledging the expectations of the season for us. It's going to look different for every single person. Maybe for a lot of people, there's an expectation to host, to put on not necessarily a show for people. Maybe that is an expectation for some, but it may just be the expectation to have a big meal ready, the expectation of gifts, the expectation of going to all these different parties, um, or just even being happy during the holiday season. There are so many expectations that come. And so I think I would like if everyone could just in their minds, in their brain, think of what expectations are being held for you, and what that might look like for you. And think of that as we're going throughout today. Okay, so some common stressors during the holiday season, what that might look like. So we're going to look at social stressors. Um, First off, obviously, there can be so much more than just these categories, but these are the categories that I kind of broke everything down into. So stressors amongst social circles. Um, I think of this in the sense of, um, being with coworkers, colleagues, being with friends, family, really just trying to navigate these different, um, I was going to say relationships, and that also relates to the social and relational kind of go hand in hand with each other. I guess the social would be more outside of family, the people that you might feel obligated to interact with. Um, so having those obligations to any of those groups. Financial stressors, I think this is one that a lot of people maybe think of the most during the holiday season. You're always wanting extra finances around the season. And so looking at that, obviously in our economy, in our current economy, I think most everyone is stressed right now with finances. And so having to even think of putting aside extra money, that's really stressful for a lot of people. And a lot of people might not have the extra money to set aside as well. Um, Looking at relational, there are so many different dynamics with biological family and or chosen family. Um, Maybe a lot of you coming to this webinar today is because of family dynamics, which is very valid. I think it's one of the most difficult things to navigate, not just during the holiday season, but in general. And so that is a very large stressor for a lot of us. Cultural stressors. So this could look like, being in West Virginia, Appalachia, the Bible Belt. A lot of people celebrate Christmas, who are Christian or religious or spiritual. And so maybe there's just that cultural stressor of I have to go to church, or maybe there's just this cultural stigma where everyone has to be happy around this time, where everyone is supposed to be joyful and cheerful. And when in reality, a lot of people don't experience that during the holiday season. And then stressors that people put on themselves. Um, this one can be really difficult to do. Maybe we don't even realize that we're putting certain expectations on ourselves. But it can definitely be um, debilitating for people. And so we want to be very mindful of that. Mindfulness is a very big thing when it comes to self-care. So, looking at social stress, attending parties, if you have kids, worrying about if your kids have, if they also have parties to go to, along with the parties that maybe you've been invited to as an adult, different work events, and just overstimulation. I think that can get a lot of people during the holiday season. Maybe you feel like there's not much quiet, there's not much rest, even though there should be rest during the holiday season. Normally, that's what people long for, is to rest, but normally there's that overstimulation or even overconsumption during the holiday season. So, financial stressors. Once again talking about this, but going into more detail of not having enough money for gifts, for food. I know in West Virginia, I think a lot of people show that they love others through food. I've heard a lot of people in West Virginia or Appalachia say that. And so, if that is a way of showing others that you love them also through gifts, that can be really hard for a lot of people to not have that ability to show people that they love them in the way that they like to do it. Obviously, we can show love in a lot of other different ways, but for a lot of people, they really love giving gifts or they really love making food for people or a big meal. And so it can be sad for a lot of people when they don't have the finances to do that. Or maybe it's not even something that someone necessarily wants to do, but maybe they feel an embarrassment of they don't have a bigger budget, or maybe they don't have money at all this holiday season. And also traveling, just the extra expenses, putting miles on your car, not just gas, but plane tickets, um, whether your family is far away or not. But Um, there is obviously more money spent on travel during the holiday season, and so having to budget for each of these things is really stressful. Looking at familial relational stressors, um, like I said before, family dynamics are really difficult. Even if we really love our family, um, there can still be a lot of difficulties during this season. It can be really hard to split time if you have a partner or a spouse, or if you just have um, like a separated family, if you have divorced parents, if you have family members that don't get along and they have separate gatherings, it can be stressful to split that time. Having a really big family, maybe you want to spend time with each individual person, but that feels really difficult to do. Kind of like that overstimulation versus rest. Grieving a lost loved one, there's so much grief during the holiday season. I really empathize with anyone and everyone who has lost someone, or even someone who has had any loss this year, whether that is the loss of a job, the loss of a friendship, the loss of a community. Um, I think a lot of grief comes up for people, not just with a loved one, but grieving anything during the holidays. Small annoyances, these can just really uh, make their way into our spaces, especially when there's one on top of the other, just consistently having different values than your family members. You might be spending a lot of time with family members, and if those different values come up, and if people care very deeply about their values, and if they feel very convicted in a certain way, that can bring up so much conflict and potentially hurt and pain between people. Um, And then not having a family to visit, obviously these are not all of them, they're just some of what this might look like for people. But being lonely on holidays, maybe um, someone's older and they're in a nursing home and they don't have someone to visit them. Um, it just looks different for every person, but loneliness is so big around the holidays. Cultural stress. I had talked about. people having this stress of feeling like they have to go to church around Christmas time and cheerfulness. But there's also, I think, such a culture of needing to put up decorations, needing to have your yard full, needing to have your house look really beautiful and festive, putting up a Christmas tree, doing gingerbread houses. There are so many expectations, um, or stressors that are put on us. And, you know, if you don't want to put up a tree, you don't have to put up a tree. If you don't want to put lights outside on your house, you don't have to. But I think a lot of the time we feel this pressure of we need to do these things, we have to do these things. And then the traditions of memories, I think this is also one that everyone feels pretty deep. They want it to be a meaningful time. They want it to be um, something where there are good memories made for maybe their kids, maybe their brothers and sisters, even their parents, um, maybe friends, family. But making memories and traditions, it's a big thing for people. And so that can also be a stressor of, gosh, what am I going to do to make this memorable? And then personal stressors. So we have self-blame, self-doubt, exhaustion, loneliness, being let down, and then mental health struggles, which we'll get more into. But self-blame, self-doubt, they can hit so hard once again throughout the whole year, but especially this season. If we are people that like to, maybe we're perfectionists, maybe we just want everyone to feel really loved. Maybe we want the holiday season, to look a certain way. And if it doesn't look a certain way, or if not everyone around us is happy like we want them to be, um, or if maybe we didn't get the reaction from someone when they opened our gift as we hoped for them to, there can be a lot of doubt put in our head, our heart. Um, it can turn into doubt of, gosh, like, does this person really love me? You know, if this person said these things to me because they had different values, I don't know if I can see them around this holiday season, and or like feeling like a burden to people, if you have different values, or maybe you don't feel cheerful during the holidays. So you don't want to be, maybe you feel like a burden, you don't want to be a burden, even though people don't think you're a burden. There's exhaustion, loneliness. Goodness, we have so much to do during the holidays in such a short amount of time. And so exhaustion really, I would say, comes over all of us. Loneliness creeps in, even if you have a family, a partner, a spouse, friends, siblings, kids. Loneliness still creeps in. There is something about the change of seasons, the shifting of years coming into the new year, reflecting on what has occurred this past year, what you have experienced this past year. Um, I think a lot of people, we self-reflect during this time, and loneliness can definitely come up as part of a self-reflection. Being let down by all the expectations and stressors that we've been talking about, whether that's being let down by other people or being let down by yourself. Maybe you put really high expectations on yourself, and maybe you feel like you're beating yourself up from not meeting all those expectations. And so that kind of leads us into these mental health struggles, which all these bullet points are obviously related to mental health struggles, but we want to look more at what mental health looks like for people during the holiday season. It can look like so many things. These are just a handful of specific diagnoses that I'm going to go over, and not even necessarily diagnoses, but just experiences. that I'm going to go over of what it may be like for people during the holidays. So, depression can show up in so many different ways, right? I think current day society, everyone's talking about depression and anxiety. Thankfully, I think we've gotten to a point in society where those two things are talked about more, but definitely it's still stigmatized. And so we're still trying to, allow it to be normalized. So, as we're looking at this, depression isn't just sadness. It's not just someone having a flat uh, face. It's maybe it's feeling numb on the inside. Maybe someone's really happy on the outside, but internally, they feel really numb or they feel sad or exhausted. Not being able to focus, not being able to concentrate on activities or the people around you. It could be sadness for no reason, but it could also be sadness from something. I say something so vague, so vaguely because I think there are a lot of things to mourn, and I think there are a lot of things to grieve in life. And so, um, not only family, but kind of like I said earlier, maybe it's a job, maybe it's a friendship, maybe um, it's your family looking different than it used to. Um, there, there are a lot of things to process as a human. Maybe you're thrown off by the lack of routine. This can really stir up depression and anxiety or just mental health struggles in general for people. Routine is so helpful for many people. And so getting out of that routine, having days off work or days off school, where you're not consistently doing one thing or another, that can be really difficult, right? Obviously, stress from finances that can definitely cause a depression and anxiety. Um, and this kind of goes with sadness and mourning, but remembering the difficult life circumstances that have occurred in the past around the holiday season. And then kind of this depression springing up for us when we have this realization that our expectations didn't really meet what the season was for us this year, the expectations that we had for the season. These are, again, obviously just examples. Depression can show up in so many other ways. How anxiety might appear. So, back on this slide, anxiety can appear in so many of these examples as well. But we're looking at these examples today. The stress of getting sick. Um, Maybe it's the anxiety of getting someone the right present, or you're a person that wants to find the perfect present for everyone. And that is something that you love, or maybe it's something you stress about. Maybe it's both. But I think for a lot of people, that that is a big anxiety around the holiday season. Maybe it's a fear of crowds. This is very real. It feels like anywhere you go during Thanksgiving to Christmas, it feels so crowded anywhere you go. And that is very overwhelming. Too many people. Stress about making memories. You want it to be a meaningful time. You want it to um, just be sure you cherish the moment that you have with everyone. And so there can be that stress as well. Anxious to be around family with all the things we talked about of different values, um, just having families that might look different, um, having any sort of conflict, any sort of differences. Stressed with responsibilities. There are so many things to check off, whether it is making food, whether it is finishing up work so you don't have to stress about things while you have days off during the holiday season. Um, Maybe it's just taking care of the dog, taking care of your family, getting presents, getting the tree up. There are so many different things to do, and it can just be a long list. Being stressed with travel, and then being uneasy about not having a schedule, which are things that we had talked about as well. What grief may look like. So this is going more into the sadness that we may experience as humans. Um, I would say that I would say that everyone has something to grieve around the holiday season. Um, and if they're introspective enough, they can see it come up for them. Um, but maybe it's mourning the family that you don't have. It could be mourning a family member or loved one who passed away. Maybe they're estranged. Maybe they live farther away. Maybe they're in jail. Or there's a might be a different scenario. Um, I think another one that I think of is parents who have unfortunately had their kids taken from them, and there are parents who are just thinking of their kids and when their rights got taken away as parents. And so there's so much mourning for people in that boat as well. Mourning personal struggles, like a job loss, mental health issues, physical health issues. That is something that I have not hit on. That is very huge. Just so much physical illness in West Virginia, definitely in Appalachia. Um, it hits every family, and it can cause a lot of anxiety around food, around people. There is so much grief or anxiety around physical illness, emotional hurts, and more mourning of personal struggles. Mourning with others who have experienced loss or hardship, um, just empathizing with others, being with them in their corner. Um, yeah, just caring for the people who are really close to you. And then once again, mourning that the holidays didn't go as you expected them to. Once again, I know I've said this the past few slides, but grief can look so much different than just the few that we just talked about. Eating disorders, man, they can really be spiked for people during the holidays. Obviously, all year round. But the holidays, so much are surrounding food. Um, that can be so triggering. I would say very triggering for someone with an eating disorder. So there might be this fear of gaining weight for some people. Maybe there is an anxiety around food in general where they're very particular about what they take in, how many calories they take in, um, maybe restricting carbs, restricting sugar, restricting fat intake, um, binge eating, so eating large amounts and then feeling really out of control over um, how much one is eating. Purging, so uh, someone ridding their body of food and calories consumed. And, we see purging, we might see purging a lot where people may eat a lot during the holiday season and they feel bad about it and so they purge. Um, and also binge eating. I think a lot of people might experience this without even realizing that it's happening to them. Eating faster than normal, eating when not hungry, or eating until we are uncomfortably full. I hear people talk about these things every single holiday season. Um, just, you're sitting around with family and food's in front of you, so you eat it, even if we're not hungry. Even if we are so uncomfortably full, we're still eating because it's kind of the culture around us, right? Feeling anxious about the food served at holiday gatherings. So once again, kind of going back to um, carbs or calories, fat, sugar, whatever people normally might look at if they struggle with an eating disorder. Or I would even say disordered eating. I think a lot of people might not meet the full criteria for an eating disorder, but a lot of people still experience disordered eating habits. And so I would say a lot of that comes up during the holiday season. How PTSD may appear for some people. So, how post-traumatic stress disorder might appear for some people. Man, the holidays can bring up a lot of trauma for people, unfortunately. And so they might be, they might somehow be re-experiencing that trauma when the holidays come up. Maybe they experience trauma during the holiday season in past years, and it brings it back up for them. It could show up in nightmares, memories, flashbacks. Maybe people try to avoid triggers during the holiday season. That might be seeing a specific family member. It could be going to a specific house. It might be eating a specific food. There are differences for every person. Negative mood changes associated with the trauma. So if something triggers PTSD for someone, then that negative mood change might appear with depression, anxiety. It might appear with someone feeling really bad about themselves, um, a lot of shame, guilt, and then reactions associated with the trauma. So maybe there is dissociation that happens, trying to help keep their body safe during that. Maybe there is a hypervigilance of needing to make sure that they stay safe, even though the trauma was years ago or months ago. Maybe there's a problem concentrating because again, there's that hypervigilance in the back of their head, just making sure their body's safe, their mind is safe, um, and their body knows what to do. Anyone who experiences post-traumatic stress disorder, their body knows how to keep them safe. Okay, what substance use may look like for people. Um, so looking at substance use, I think there can be so many different ways that this gets triggered. Obviously, alcohol is used a lot during the holiday season. And so not just being around alcohol, but also I would say all of the stress of the holiday season triggers people to use substances, whether alcohol or drugs. So maybe someone uses more of a substance than they intended to because of all the stress coming up for them. Maybe someone needs more of a substance during the holiday season as a negative coping skill or a crutch to lean on. Um, Maybe for someone it is continuing to use even when it causes problems, with their spouse, with their kids, with their family, maybe even with their work. Maybe they continue drinking alcohol even though people are saying, hey, maybe we should cut down on that. And the next one, trying to cut down or stop using the substance, but it becomes difficult to cut down or difficult to stop using the substance. Um, and then experiencing really intense cravings. I think obviously, it might make it worse if someone specifically might struggle with alcoholism and there might be alcohol all around them during this holiday season. And so that might make the cravings intensify. Um, and then looking at developing withdrawal when not using substances. So maybe someone is trying really hard to not use substances during this holiday season. And they start to experience those withdrawal symptoms. Um, and it can look so different for everyone, but it might look like irritability around family members. It could look like lack of sleep or sleeping more. It can look really different, like a change in appetite, different for everyone. So we have covered so much stress, so many things that we can stress over during the holiday season. But we want to focus on how can we take care of ourselves if we struggle with any of those things that we just looked at, not just stressors, but if we looked at depression, anxiety, grief, disordered eating, substance use, PTSD, if any of you experience any of those things, I would really encourage you, how can you be thinking of taking care of yourself? And if we're being honest, every single one of us struggles with one of those things in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just stress in general. So maybe just over the next few slides, think of how you can apply this to your holiday season, and we'll talk more about it. So, recognizing your feelings surrounding the season, it can be such a season of rush, of hurry, of go, go, go from one thing to another. It can be so helpful to slow down and recognize how you're doing and your feelings surrounding the season, um, what you're experiencing. So, if anything, I would really encourage all of you, and challenge to myself as well, to take a minute, whether that is today or this weekend or whenever, to sit with how you're doing, how you're really doing, and not just kind of sit for 1 minute, say, "Oh, I'm good," and then keep going. Um, really think about it. And then, you know, when we look at how we're doing, sometimes we think, well, what do I do with this now? Um, maybe I am depressed. Maybe I'm really grieving. What do I do with that? We want to look at how we can honor that which we're feeling. Um, I think honoring what we are feeling, it is going to help us so much more than putting shame on ourselves for what we're feeling. Um, the more we heap shame on ourselves, it does not heal. Shame does not heal. But when we honor the coping skills that we're utilizing, um, it's giving ourselves grace, and it's being gentle with ourselves. I think I'm going to go back for just a minute. One thing that I want to say about this is, um, when I bring up coping skills, all of us have them, right? We all have coping skills that we utilize day to day, but also during the holiday season. Um, maybe think of coping skills that you use. Um, and, maybe in this instance, maybe some of you thought of coping skills that might be unhealthy for you during this season. I talk with a lot of people who struggle with unhealthy coping skills, and everyone has them, right, at some point in life. And so I would really encourage you, if you feel like you're only seeing negative coping skills, I would still encourage you to honor them. And what I mean by that is having grace with yourself to see that that negative coping skill has a purpose. It's doing something for you. Maybe it's numbing the stress that you're experiencing. Normally that is the purpose of a negative coping skill. Um, Maybe it helps you to think about something else than the stress that you're experiencing. Um, it is helping you get away from that stress, right? So we want to honor that, but then we also want to see, okay, is this helping my brain and my body? Um, and if it's an unhealthy coping skill? Obviously, the answer would be no, but we don't want to shame that. We want to honor that our body's trying to help us, but also say, okay, we want to nourish our brain and body. We want to help it flourish. So what other coping skill would help my brain and body flourish while also helping take stress off of me? Okay, now moving on to three. So list what matters most to you in this holiday season. I'm going to take a drink for just a minute. Okay. Um, so what might matter most to us? It's going to look different for every single person. But why we want to make a list of this is so that we can keep it at the forefront of our mind. Maybe you put this list on the fridge. Maybe you tape it to the bathroom, or tape it to the mirror in your bathroom. Maybe you put it in your car if you're driving a lot this holiday season. But list out the things that really matter to you. So that way, every time you see this note, you can think to yourself, okay, am I prioritizing that? Am I making sure that what matters to me is what I'm spending my time on, is what I'm spending my finances on? Um, and so, if maybe family was on that list, um, and maybe you realize, oh, like I'm spending a lot of time just trying to do all these other things and not actually spending time with my family. Then maybe that list kind of brings you back to, okay, let's step back, um, and kind of reevaluate where I can shift things to and move things to be able to spend more time with family. And well, we just talked about this, but prioritizing what matters. Um, we plan so much in life, right? We plan work, right? We plan when we see people, we schedule, maybe we schedule to exercise, we schedule to cook, to grocery shop, all these things. If you can plan those things, then you can also plan the things that matter to you. I would argue that that is most important, is to prioritize what matters to you. So schedule that if you use a planner, a physical planner, or if you use your phone, if you use a Google Calendar, put it in there, schedule it, make time for it. Um, you will thank yourself later for prioritizing what matters in that season. Um, and set reminders on your phone too. So maybe you remember it super randomly while you're on a work call. And so you go into your phone real quick and set a reminder to do something later. Um, but prioritizing these things. Being present. This, I believe, can be one of the most difficult things. Maybe for some people it's not, but I think in our society, we are so much a society that looks forward of what's next, what's next, what's next. It can be so hard to be present and enjoy the moment. It can be difficult to be mindful of where you are. And so whatever matters most to you, I would encourage you that when you plan that, when you are during that time, when you're in the time frame of when you scheduled that thing that you love to do, be present in it. Um, you can let your mind know, okay, everything else that's in the future is important and everything will get done. But we're gonna set that aside for an hour, for a day, for a weekend, and we're going to come back to it, but we're going to be present right now. Setting boundaries, this is, I would say, so helpful. I think every single one of these that I put in, the 12 days of self-care, I think each of them are really important for different reasons or different seasons that you find yourself in. For some people, setting boundaries are going to be really helpful and are really needed. So, setting boundaries with family, with friends, with in-laws, coworkers, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe that looks like setting a boundary of, okay, my family wants me to spend every single Christmas day with them, even though me and my partner have their whole other family to go visit. Obviously, setting a boundary with, um, your family of we're not going to be at your house every single Christmas day. There is now a whole other person in the picture, right? Um, it could be setting boundaries about what you talk about with each other. Maybe you set the boundary of, okay, we're not talking about politics when we get to um, gathering with each other. For some people, I know of families that have that rule because uh, it gets really heated and it gets really intense, and they've just made a rule to not talk about it. Um, and so maybe that's a boundary that you or your family wants to set. Maybe you set boundaries with yourself. I think this is almost just as important as setting boundaries with other people. For a lot of people, they will spend in excess during the holiday season. Maybe you need to set a boundary with yourself of um, finances. You set a budget for each person, and you stick to that budget. Maybe it's you set a boundary for the budget of food, and what you spend on food during the holiday season, and not going over that, sticking to that budget. Or maybe you're a person that is like you want to get a set amount of gifts for each person. Maybe you set this boundary of, okay, I'm getting 2 gifts, 5 gifts, however many for people in your circles. Attending events. Maybe this looks like how many events you attend during a season. Or maybe it looks like, okay, we're spending 1 hour at this event and then I'm going home. Um, maybe depression is really hard and you want to go out and do an event or take part in an event, but it is really difficult. And maybe you, I don't know if this would necessarily be a boundary, but maybe this would be a challenge to go spend an hour at an event, but a healthy boundary to help yourself get out of the house, if that's helpful for you. And then traveling. So setting boundaries of, okay, we're gonna spend the night at this family member's house and then leave the next day. We're not gonna spend 2 to 3 nights. Just having these set in stone details before can be very helpful to not either overconsume or overstimulate yourself or other people, um, or overwork yourself at the same time. Say no. I love this phrase, even though I can be so bad at it. I'm sure, I'm sure a lot of us are bad at saying no. It can be really hard to say no. Maybe we want to help everyone. Maybe we want to just make sure everyone has what they need during this season. Maybe we just like to help. Maybe that is kind of something that is in you, that you are a helper. Um, and so maybe it's difficult for you to say no. Maybe you feel really bad when you say no, and you feel like something's your fault when you say no. There are so many reasons, but I think some, not basic, but some reminders for us with this one is saying no is healthy. Saying no is good. Saying no is a boundary that is helpful. Saying no It goes with rest. We cannot do everything. We are human. Humans are fragile, right? Maybe sometimes we don't want to admit that we're fragile, but unfortunately we are. Um, we cannot do everything, right? We have to say no to something. Um, so maybe tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna allow myself to say yes to this many things this holiday season. And after that, I'm not allowing myself to say yes. I'm telling myself to say no, in these other situations. So maybe think about what you can say no to this holiday season. Plan for when you may get stressed. This might not be something that we think about that often. Maybe we just kind of wait until we get stressed, and then once we're there, we're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? We don't necessarily, uh, we might not be of help to our future selves. So if you're a person that maybe you're like, yeah, that would be really helpful for me to have a plan because I know I'm going to get stressed. This is for you in these moments. Um, if you know of something that is really useful for you, if you know of a coping skill, I would just already make sure you have access to it, whatever that looks like. Maybe for some people, it's a fidget of some sort. So maybe you take that with you anywhere and everywhere. Um, Maybe for some people, it's noise canceling headphones, for overstimulation. Maybe you need to put those on for a bit. That's okay. Maybe you are self-aware enough to know that maybe you might need to leave the room sometimes because maybe you're overstimulated or stressed or whatever. Um, that could even be going into the bathroom for just a couple minutes, taking some deep breaths, being really mindful of how your body is feeling, and then going back out. So it can, um, once again, I know I've said this so many times, it looks different for everyone. I think I want everyone to be very aware that just because something works for someone else does not mean that it is always going to work for you. And that is okay because we're all unique in good ways. Okay, setting aside time to rest and recharge. This is so important. So important. This goes along with boundaries. This goes along with saying no. Um, there are so many things that kind of help each other and go into each other. But setting aside time to rest and recharge. Once again, we are human. We cannot do everything on our own. We need time to rest. We have to sleep. We have to recharge. We have to eat to fuel our bodies. Um, we need these things to be able to function in life. And so I would encourage all of you to see rest. Um, as something as basic as food and sleep. You, the body does need rest. It does need to recharge. Um, and not just through sleep, but through other capacities as well. And so, maybe that looks like sitting by a fireplace, kind of like this picture. Maybe, maybe for some people, resting is decorating a Christmas tree. I know for some people that is not restful, that is work. But for some people that can be restful. Maybe it is playing a game with friends or family, and just allowing yourself time to slow down and do what you need to do. Incorporate routine into your schedule. I think sometimes we think that the holiday is just it's gonna be what it is and it's gonna be busy and we can't really do anything about it. When in reality, I believe we can do something about it. I really do believe that in some shape or form, we can incorporate routine into our schedule. And so, that it might look really small, or for some people, it might look bigger for them. So going small scale, maybe routine for you looks like waking up at the same time every morning to have your cup of tea or cup of coffee before all the busyness of the day gets started. Maybe it's winding down with a cup of tea or a cup of decaf coffee. Um, there are a lot of ways that we can incorporate routine. Um, Maybe the routine is just making sure you drink enough water throughout the day. Maybe the routine is being sure you take your mental health medication. That is so important. Um, Set a reminder, do whatever you need to do. Um, but any kind of routine, I would say is helpful. Obviously, not so much routine to where you're going to be stressed. Um, it's every person needs a certain amount of routine to be helpful for them. So we've done some of this already a little bit, but I've talked a lot about grieving and mourning things in the holiday season, but I maybe as I've been talking about mourning and grieving, you yourself have thought, well, I don't really have anything to mourn. It's been a great year. If that is you, I am so happy for you. I truly mean that. Um, but more than likely, there is always something to mourn within a year. Um, very unfortunately, life often does not appear without hardship and without suffering. Uh, and many people experience it day by day. And so I would encourage each one of you to look at the past year. And, everyone always talks about look back at the great times, and that is beautiful, and we should. Um, but I don't think many people encourage us to mourn what we need to. Um, and it's needed. Mourning is needed. Grieving is needed. It can actually be really therapeutic, and really healing to set aside time to mourn. Even if the only time that you set aside is right now during this webinar, is to take a moment to look introspectively and say, man, what have I lost this year? What are some really hard things that I've gone through this year? Or maybe it's not really hard, maybe it's just a hard thing that you went through. Um, some people really struggle to be not be okay, but kind of sit with hard in their life. It's uncomfortable. We don't want that in our lives, right? But I want to encourage you to sit with your uncomfortability for just a minute. And I want you to take time to just recognize what you've lost and take time to say, man, that happened to me. Um, that event or experience occurred in my life and it happened this year. I can't change it. And also, I'm just going to acknowledge that it happened and that it's sad or that it was really difficult and it was really hard. And as we give space for those things, I think it also gives space for us to say, to bring up the things that we love and we appreciated about this year. Um, but we need that time to mourn. So please allow yourself that time. So take time to celebrate. And obviously that's what we're ending with. So just like I said, um, there are times to mourn, there are also times to celebrate. And I would say, if possible, try to make room for both this year. I completely understand if there are people who in their mind and in their brain they're like I do not have anything to celebrate. I am solely in grief or in trauma or in crisis or in survival mode, and I'm just really struggling to celebrate anything. If that is you, that is fair. You do not need to force yourself to celebrate anything. Um, I think just acknowledging where you're at is good, and being self-aware of that is really good. But for those of us who are like, I do have something to celebrate this year, even if it's one thing, I would encourage you to think on that and to take time to honor those things as well. Honor the good, honor things that you are thankful for. Um, I sometimes I think it can be a lot easier to name things to celebrate, and it can be harder to name what to mourn. But I would encourage you to make a list if you can. Sometimes it can be fun to just think back on a year and say, what can I celebrate? So I wanted to give some resources on mental health during the holiday season, um, because it can be so specific. So I wanted people to have specific ones. So NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Health, they have resources and information on dealing with mental health issues during the holidays, if you go to their website. So they are wonderful. SAMHSA is also wonderful. They provide crisis resources, and they also have resources and information supporting your own mental health during the holidays. So once again, going to their website to look at that. I really love this. I got to look over this a year ago when I was making this PowerPoint. But mental health first aid, it is from the National Council for Mental Well-being. But once again, the website is right there. But they provide a PDF, and this presentation, this will be sent out to whoever would like it, so you can directly have this PDF link. Um, but the link to this PDF, it is called Thriving During the Holidays, and it is about how to take care of your mental well-being during the season. So I got to scan through that. It was really cool. So if you guys would like to look at that as well, we'll send out this PowerPoint. The American Psychological Association, they provide a press release surrounding adult mental health during the holiday season, which I think is really cool to see research surrounding mental health in the holiday season, and it's very recent. So that is available as well. And then these are the references from the statistics that we looked over at the very beginning. Um, and I just wanted you guys to be able to have those as well. I know I'm ending a little early. We try to leave like 10-ish minutes for any questions, but I wanted to say before you guys leave, I wanted to say thank you genuinely. I mean that a lot. I am so honored to get to do these webinars. I am so appreciative that around 75 of you would spend around an hour to an hour and a half with us today. That's a good chunk of time. And yeah, I just really appreciate all that you guys do. I also don't know necessarily your all's roles, or if you guys are foster parents, adoptive parents in the school system, whatever role you serve in, thank you. I really do mean that. We need people who care about our youth. We need people who care. about taking self-care themselves. We need parents who care. We need school systems and school personnel who care. And so thank you so much for any and all that you do. If you guys have any questions or if you're interested in therapy, please email me at the email that you guys see on the screen. I would love, love, love to connect you with one of our therapists um, to allow you to have the space that you need as well. One thing that I always advocate for is therapy for anyone and everyone in the helping field. Um, Me as a therapist, I have my own therapist, and it is so, so helpful. And I talk to a lot of other therapists who have therapists themselves. Um, it is a great space where you can say what you need to say, where you can be vulnerable. You don't have to filter what you're saying. You're accepted as you are, as you come in. And I think that really matters in a world where we're all rushing, 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 and the world is very stressful, as we just looked at. We need a space where we can slow down with someone and we can take time to really be introspective and to see how we're really doing. Um, so once again, if you have any questions about that, or if you're interested in starting therapy, please email me and I would love to talk to you guys. Hillary, I think you have something to say.
Well, I wanted to just ditto everything that you just said. And to all of our participants today, thank you for everything you do and the work you're doing in your field, or as a parent, or as just somebody who supports our youth and are limping through the holidays. I think, like a lot of us are. We are here to support that. And thank you, Morgan, for I love when you come here. You are not my therapist, but I get so much help and good therapy for myself just listening to you talk and listening to these sessions that you do. And I won't lie, maybe there's a little part of me that thinks I'm bringing you in for my own free therapy session when you do these webinars for us. But we
I'm okay with
appreciate you
that.
so much. Appreciate you so much. And again, especially around the holidays, I think everybody was kind of in agreement with that. There's a lot of, like you said, a lot of grief and just a lot of stress in general. Like there's a lot of emotion going on. So we appreciate you. And I'm looking, there are a couple of questions. I think they were kind of related around your practice and if you do telehealth across state lines, um, or if you do telehealth for youth in foster care or for Medicaid therapy in young kids and or adults. A lot of these are, like I said, more about your practice
Yeah,
and
no, those are
service,
great
it seems
questions.
like, but
So,
that seems to be all I'm seeing.
okay. No, those are great. And if I miss any in answering, please let me know, Hillary. Because
Mhm.
I don't know where my mouse went. Oh, there we go. Okay, I could not see the chat this whole time because I don't I don't know for some reason it wasn't pulling up for me. But yes, so I do telehealth and all of our therapists at Graceway do telehealth. So if you guys are anywhere in West Virginia, we can do that. If you are in Ohio, I am also licensed in Ohio, so I can do telehealth therapy if by chance you are in Ohio, if you know of someone in Ohio that wants to do therapy. Um, since we're in Huntington, we are around the tri-state area, so we get people from Ohio. Um, Medicaid. So it it is so tricky. Insurance is so tricky and it's awful at the same time. Um, there are moments of the year where we do take Medicaid, and then there are moments where we put a pause on taking Medicaid clients. I think we are in a season where we are taking Medicaid clients. So, um, I would say if you are the person that asked about Medicaid, I would say email me, because I can talk to my boss about definitely helping you get in with one of our therapists. Um, what other questions were there, Hillary? I can't
I think
remember.
that's pretty much it. And I think you'd already addressed that if somebody's interested in services or questions about youth who are in foster care,
Okay, great.
to contact you, to send you an email.
Okay,
Go
great.
in Duffy at gracewaycounseling.com and they can reach you, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I'll also throw that out there in case we will send this webinar out if that's okay with you, Morgan,
Oh, yeah, yeah, please do.
next week.
Um,
So all of this information will be included in that email, but if for some reason someone would like to contact you or is interested in Graceway Counseling, please feel free to, of course, you can always Google that, but you can also send us a message and we'll be happy to get you into contact with
yes.
Morgan or someone at Graceway as well.
I think the last thing I'll say, there was one question that I don't think I answered. Um, Someone asked if we do therapy with young kids and adults. Yes, we do therapy with adults. The youngest age that we go to is 5. So any person 5 years old and up, we will see them for therapy. Um, so I think that was all of them. I'm sorry if I'm missing a
For
question,
everything.
but like Hillary said, you guys can email me with any questions, and I would love to talk to any of you and each one of you. So thank you so much, Hillary.
Thank you. So good to see you,
You too.
as always.
It's a
All right. Well,
blessing.
thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again today. We will be back on January 13th. Um, for our next webinar, we'll have information coming out about that very soon. We'll be on signs of grooming. Um, so we're not looking forward to that one, I guess, in a positive way, but it should be a very informative, really good session. So you guys can join us for that in January. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Um, whatever it is you may celebrate. Happy New Year. But I think we're good, though. I don't see any other questions.
Awesome.
But
Thank you,
thank you,
everyone.
Morgan. Oh, I will leave you with one last thought if there's anybody who's still on. Our open house is on December 17th here at Hurricane at Mission, West Virginia at our home office. Please come by and see us 8:30 to 4:30 on December 17th. Have a good day, everybody.